So let me give you an idea about structures in C, because that's very important to understand, to implement this linked list in C. Structures in C. Alright, so can you recall something about data types in C, guys? Okay, so what is the data type? What's the data type? Okay, so what are the data types you are available, which are available in C? One is integer data type, another one is float, another one is character, and double. Right, so these are the four primitive or basic data types available in C program. Right, okay, so if I say int a, which means that I am declaring a variable, I am declaring a container called as a, I am declaring a container called as a, and this container will hold only integer, guys, will hold only integer, because the data type of this container is an integer, so you can store only integers here, right? So float is nothing but let's say I am declaring a variable, say float b. Now container b will have only floating point value, maybe 0.1, 0.111, but that's a decimal value or floating point value. Character C, you would have guessed it will store only characters. Double means it's again an extended version of float only. Okay, it will store the float decimal points, but in some higher values. Okay, so these are four basic or primitive data types in C program. Okay, but when I say what is an integer, right? It has numbers. Float is decimal points. Character is a single character, maybe a, b, c, opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis, hashtag. These are all characters, right? So you know this. But in linked list, we'll talk about nodes, right? We'll talk about nodes. Can I ask you this question? Do you have any data type called node in C? Right? Do you have any data type called as node in C? You don't have, right? You have only four primitive data types. Okay, you don't have a data type called as node, but you need this node to implement your linked list. Okay, it's just a basic unit of linked list, right? So you need this. So how to do that? How to define your own data type? I repeat, how to define your own data type. Okay, how to define your own data type? This is your own data type, node, right? This is not present in C, but how to define that? In those cases, you have to go for this wonderful concept called as structure. Okay, a structure is nothing but user defined data type, guys. User defined data type. It's very simple. Okay, so to define a data type, define a structure, you are just having a keyword called as struct. Okay, a keyword called as struct, and here you have to give the name for a structure. Let me say that my structure name is node. Okay, struct node. Open the parenthesis, give okay, so what do you want to have inside your structure? My structure will, what is the structure, guys? You have to define that here. What is the structure of a node? A node will have two fields, right? One is data field, and another one is the next field, right? Another one is the next field. Okay, so you can write int data here. So inside the struct node, you'll be having a data field, that's an integer field, so it can store integers, right? Int data. And another one, the next field will point to another structure, right? The next field will point to another structure. So you can define like this. Next field will point to another structure, right? So that's called as self-referential structure, guys. So I'll write struct node asterisk next. You know what is asterisk, right? A pointer variable. So struct node asterisk next. Okay, we have seen about pointers, right, already. Super. So this is the structure of a node, guys. Fine. So I'll write it neatly. So if you want to define a node, so you have to give struct node, and you have to do two things. Int data. Okay, that's the first data field. Then you have to have a pointer variable, right, which should point to the structure itself. That's why I am saying like this, guys. Okay, because whenever I told you, whenever I want to create a pointer means I have to define the data type of the variable which it points to. Say for an example, if the pointer next points to an integer value, then I have to write like this, int star next, if it points to an integer value. But in this case, if you see, my next pointer will point to another structure, guys, right? Another structure. For that purpose, I am declaring data type as struct node itself, because you know this is a data type, right? So I am declaring data type as struct node itself. Fine. So which means that my next field will point to another structure which is also of the type struct node, right? So this is called as self-referential structures. I'm not going deep into structures because I just want to explain this alone. Self-referential structures. Alright. So okay, close the parenthesis, of course. Hold on, just close this. So this is the structure of a single node. Okay, so you have all your linked list program should have this. Okay, so after you define this, if you want to create a node, it's very easy, guys. If you want to create a node, you just have to use the data type that you have declared. So struct node, and you just have to say new node. All right, I think that will do. That's it, right? Struct node and new node. Okay. Of course you have to use a pointer because you are going to create address values only. So let me use a pointer variable. Okay, struct node, pointer, new node. All right, let me explain about a very important concept in C called as pointers. Okay, so what do you mean by a pointer? How it is different from a normal variable? A pointer is again a variable, guys, but the difference here is it will store the address of the variable. It will not store the exact value, it will store the address. It's a special variable used to store the address, guys. Okay, a special variable which is used to store the address. Okay, I'll give you some examples. Let's say int a equals to 5, guys. Okay, int a equals to 5. So I'm declaring an integer variable, integer data type, and its value is 5 initially. Okay, so let me have that container, say a, and this has a value 5. And now a variable will only hold the value. Okay, but when I have a pointer, it points to the address of a. Okay, so whenever I do this, the moment I write this, a unique address will be allotted to this, right? A unique address will be allotted to this. Okay, so let me say my address is 1001. That's the usual example I go for. That's a 9-digit or a 7-digit address, but let me go for 1001. So I mean this address location is 1001, and inside 1001 you will be having value 5. So understand the difference between value and address, guys. So this is the address is 1001, but the value inside the address is 5. So what I could write here is inside 1001 you will be having the value called 5. Okay, so the address of A is 1001. Super, perfect. Then it's not 1001 actually, I'm just taking an example. Okay, it may be a 9-digit number. Okay, address is something different, and each time you run your program you will get different addresses. Okay, it is getting allotted for each execution of your program. So your pointer will now have the value 1001, guys. It's not having the value 5. Okay, your pointer will have the value ptr. This is a usual variable they go for. So they will have the value, the address value, and if you want to access, you have some operators to access the value inside 1001. Okay, so understand that the pointer is something that points to the address. Okay, super. Let me clear this. So to declare a pointer, you have to use this syntax: int star pointer. Actually, I'll give you the later general declaration. First is actually a data type. Okay, data type, you have to mention the data type, and you have to mention this hashtag symbol which indicates that it is a pointer. It's a special variable. This symbol differentiate the normal variable and the pointer variable. Okay, then you have to mention the pointer name. You can give any name, but usually people go for ptr. Okay, you can give any name, pointer name. This is the general syntax, guys, and I can give you an example. Data type is integer, let's say, and hashtag ptr. Okay, this is the declaration of a pointer variable. Okay, you may be wondering what is this int. Okay, in contradiction to this, if you have int a equals to 5, you know that since a is storing 5 and 5 is an integer value, you will be having int, which means that a will be storing only integers. But you know, I told you pointer stores address, right? What do you mean by this int? Which means that this int means that this pointer is referring to an integer value. Or you can also say that this pointer is holding some address, right? This pointer is having some address value, right? In that address you will be having only integers. Is it clear? I repeat it again. This data type means that the data type of the value which the pointer points to. Okay, so if pointer will have an address, right? Say this pointer has a value. Let me declare a value like this, address value. You can't declare any address like this, but let me say 1001. Okay, then pointer holding the address 1000 wide, right? But if you say int, then inside 1001 you will be having only integers, maybe 5 or 7 or whatever it is. Okay, likewise you can go for character pointer. It may also have value 1002. Inside 1002, that's the pointer variable points to, you will be having only characters. Okay, so this is the data type which the pointer variable points to, and it is not the data type of the pointer variable. Okay, so data type of the value which the pointer variable points to. Okay, you understand that? Okay, so that's how you declare a pointer variable, guys, and you should not